website within 24 hours. Dr. Vidoni, we appreciate your time to join us today. So I'll go on ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Lewandowski. I am so excited to see. I know I recognize some names from who've been with us a long time, and it's also great to see some new names who are joining us. If you have done these webinars before, you've heard me talk about COMET in the COMET study, or maybe Dr. Szabo-Reed talk about COMET. And today, what we're going to do, in keeping with our tradition of trying to bring some community voices on, is we're going to talk to one of the trainers for COMET, one of the participants who's actively exercising in the COMET study right now, and then our community exercise specialist who leads all of the relationships we have in the YMCAs and around the region, and just get a little bit of a sense of what's it like in a day to do exercise in a day with one of our exercise studies. First, I just want to talk very briefly about the COMET study for those of you who maybe don't know what that is. So I'm going to try and share my screen here. Let's see. Does that look okay, Tina?
Yep, that looks great, Eric.
Okay, thank you. All right. And I'm going to, sometimes it's easier if we hold questions till the end, maybe just jot them down if I'm not explaining something effectively. And that way it makes it a little bit easier for me to manage because I can't always see who's asking questions and whatnot. Okay, so here we go. Just very quickly, as I think we should always do, I wanted to let you know that I have funding from the National Institutes of Health, and I have a very minor, I'm a very minor stakeholder in a very small patent that makes absolutely no money measuring blood flow in the brain. So you can weigh what I say today against those two disclosures. I thought we'd just very briefly talk about the COMET study, and then jump right into our conversation with Nick and Vienna and Julie, and then save a little bit of time for comments. So those of you who don't know, the KU Alzheimer's Disease Center is one of 31 or 34, depending on how you count, nationally designated Alzheimer's disease research centers. You can see where the thumb's sticking out into the Great Plains. And we take that very seriously. We very much believe that we need to be serving our Great Plains region, and especially the Kansas City area and Kansas. And along with that, our job is to bring clinical trials and clinical research into brain aging, healthy brains as we age, as well as Alzheimer's disease and related dementias. So we're part of this national network that you can see it's heavily located on the coast, and we're very proud to be centrally located and bringing that to this region and this community. Okay, the COMET study, COMET stands for Combined Exercise Trial. The idea here is that we're going to ask 280 adults 65 to 80 years old who do not have any cognitive change so far, and we're going to put them into one of 4 groups randomly, and we're going to oops. Oh, I have a little picture down here. I apologize. One of 4 groups with a trainer, and you're either going to do aerobic exercise like walking or getting on an elliptical or a cycle, or you're going to lift weights, or both, and or neither actually. And so we're going to see what types of exercise work best. And because everybody likes pictures of family, and we are all about family and community here. Dr. Szabo-Reed on your left of your screen there is my co-conspirator in this study, and those are her 3 little girls, Mars, Luna, and Aurora. So very space, astrological, astronomical names. And then that's my family on the right, including my stepchildren, Michael and Ashley, and Michael's wife, and my mother-in-law, and then our granddaughter, Rhea. So always good to share who we are and where we're coming from. And there's the exercise. I got them backwards, sorry. So we have 4 different types of exercise that we're doing with people. The flow of this is that we bring you in and do testing. We test your blood and we test pencil and paper measures and computer measures, and we take a picture of your brain and we see how well your heart and lungs are functioning. Then we randomly assign you to one of these 4 groups where they either do core infusion exercises or weightlifting or endurance exercise like walking or both. And then we bring you in again at 26 weeks while you're exercising to do a little more testing. And then after a full year of exercise, we bring you in one more time for that full set of tests. So it's a significant commitment, but you also get free, as you're going to find out, a great trainer who helps you along through these exercises and keeps you on this exercise protocol that's been recommended by the Centers for Disease Control and the National Institutes of Health and the American College of Sports Medicine and all kinds of people. So we're very proud to partner with the Y to deliver these in areas that should be close to most of your homes. So, and we're going to hopefully learn if resistance training benefits memory and thinking versus what we'd call endurance training, like walking. Is doing both better, or can you do just one and that's sufficient? We don't know. We don't know enough about this yet. This will be the biggest trial yet to test whether or not weightlifting benefits the brain. Okay, so enough of that. That's what COMET is. And so now I want to transition to a couple of 3 quick introductions of Nick, Vienna, and Julie. They have all signed releases, so they've all agreed to be recorded and shown and disclosed that they're part of the study, so we don't have any problems there. I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to ask them to unmute. And I'm going to wait for Nick to run around. He's the trainer. He should be fast. There you go. Well done. Well done. All right. Well, thank you all 3 of you for joining. I'm going to start with you, Nick. I'm going to put you on the hot seat. You're a personal trainer who's certified through the National Academy of Sports Medicine. And you grew up in Chicago. So the first question I have after you tell me a little bit more about yourself is Cubs or Sox, and right answers only.
Oh gosh, neither.
Oh,
I'm just messing. Probably the White Sox.
oh, yes. Well done. Right answer.
Good.
Good job. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Like you said, I was born and raised in Chicago. I grew up there until I was in middle school. I've been in Missouri for about 15 years. I moved in middle school to Missouri. I've always been really into sports, living that active lifestyle. That's what kind of got me into personal training and the passion for it, to kind of turn that into like a passion, something that I can do the rest of my life that I'd enjoy. I've been in Kansas City for about 2 years, and I've been with the YMCA in Kansas City for 2 years. And I absolutely love it.
Wonderful. Vienna, I don't know you, but I'm really glad to meet you and have you on here. Can you tell me just a little bit about yourself and why you're in the study?
Well, I've lived up in the Kansas City area just 3.5 years, moving from Hutchinson, and we have our sons up here, one north, one south, 9 grandkids, so we just had to cut some of the miles off on the road and just move up here. So I first learned about the study. We joined the Y, and 6 weeks later it shut down for COVID. So hadn't really gotten back into things. In the meantime, my younger sister was diagnosed with early onset, so I heavily pursued getting signed up.
Wonderful, thank you. And then Julie, you are our community exercise specialist. You help keep Nick in line, and you you can share a little bit about yourself. But I do want to share, because you probably won't. I think this is just so cool. Julie designed the United States National Curling Team Strength and Conditioning program. So she's like a big time expert in the development of exercise for both professional athletes, and we rely on her heavily to make sure that our exercises are safe and being done effectively in the community. So Julie.
Thanks for sharing that, Eric. So I have been with the ADRC for about 1.5 years now, and I have a degree from Emporia State in the field, and then I have been involved in the field my entire life. And once I come from a long history of Alzheimer's in my family, so this is a perfect combination of probably the two things that I know the most about, which would be exercise and Alzheimer's.
Wonderful. That's awesome. Deanna, can I start with you?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the things that I hear from our participants is how much, I'm going to put you on the spot here, but how much they enjoy interactions with their personal trainer at the Y. What was the first day like for you with Nick?
It was good because I think I would have fumbled through trying to, I've done a lot of, in the past I did aerobics and swimming, but never lifted weights. So I was clueless, and he was very informative and patient with me. Wonderful.
So did you feel any intimidation at all about starting, or was that gone once you met Nick?
Yeah, it was gone once. I felt very comfortable with him from the start. I had a level of confidence immediately. So
great. And that probably stems, Nick, from all your experience as a trainer. Can you talk a little bit about what kinds of what certification as a personal trainer involves, and maybe a little bit about what that national certification you have is?
Yes, so my certification is through the National Academy of Sports Medicine. So I'm a nationally certified personal trainer, and then I'm also certified like in stretching and flexibility. So I'm like a stretching and flexibility coach. I chose to go through the National Academy of Sports Medicine because they're one of like the most respected ones in personal training. They're real systematic, and they give you enough education and tools to like successfully start training from the beginning. So from getting my certification through them, I felt very prepared and very comfortable training. And they have a lot of support. So it's a very good, it was a very good certification to go through.
Great, thanks. Julie, as sort of the overseer for all of our trainers, maybe that's part of your role. Can you describe a little bit more closely what your role is and how you interact both with Nick and participants like Vienna?
So my first job is to make sure that the trainers are prepared and that they're provide a little bit of education and research so that they understand, what our goals are, what we're trying to do. And we currently have about 65 trainers that we work with throughout the metro area. So keeping in touch with them, making sure that they're, prepared and ready to take on participants. And then when the participant is ready to start, like Vienna was, we schedule an orientation. And so I am always at the first meeting with the participant and the trainer and get them all set up. We do so Vienna did a little bit of assessments at our first meeting. As she's in, the group that she is in requires that. And then I come back and check on her throughout the year that she's doing her exercise and check in with Nick as well. And really my role is to be a support system for the trainers as they, go through the process and are the ones that are day-to-day interacting with the participants.
I think one of the things that maybe Vienna alluded to and I alluded to a little bit is that potential intimidation about the first day. So can you sort of briefly go over what everything you guys talk about in that first day of orientation? What are the things that the resources you provide people or the explanations you provide so that we get everybody starting on the right foot?
So first is to, again, we do a quick recap of the study itself, what we're trying to accomplish. And then we really dive into the group that the participant randomized into. So whatever their specific protocol is for that year. So in Vienna's case, she's in a group that involves resistance training. So we, she learns like the timetable for when she has to do everything, how to report her data, how to use a Fitbit. The study involves using a Fitbit to help us record exercise. So part of that is teaching that, and I think you probably feel like now you've got it down.
Yes.
Using our paper log to record exercise, and then just really making sure the participant and the trainer, mesh and kind of get off on the right foot.
Wonderful, thanks. Nick, what, one of the things that Julie talked about there was that we have kind of more of a strict protocol for each of the groups. What's it been like to be a trainer where, if you were just operating as a private trainer with someone, you could sort of take them in whatever direction, versus here where we want to do science, and so we have to have more control over what participants can and can't do. What's that been like for you?
I would probably say that would be exciting because like Julie sets the tone for it. So like they come in and then they get all the information and we get prepared, and then us going into it, it just kind of like with the research on it and stuff, you're making a difference. So like obviously personal training is wonderful and you get really rewarding with your clients, but with the KU study, they're with you for a year, and then just the fact that you're going to be making a difference and we're going to be finding out if the exercise will improve. It just makes it so much more engaging, and you feel like you're actually part of something, and it makes it more motivating to continue to participate.
I love that you said that, because we really think of the trainers and the participants as part of the scientific team. Everybody on our team is a scientist and helping us do this science and learn what exercise does for the brain. So that's great to hear. Vienna, what's your favorite exercise that you do with Nick?
Actually, I like the core.
You like the core?
We do after we have done the lifting, but I love the structure of the whole program.
Great. When we talked to, oh gosh, I'm blanking on his name, but a few months ago, we talked to one of the participants, and he was a gentleman who said, I just wanted to be in the weightlifting group. I didn't want to be in the core and toning group. And I got into the core and toning group, and I absolutely love it. So, that's good to hear. What's been the hardest thing for you to do, Vienna? What's been the most challenging?
Actually, I don't feel like, other than, yes, being unfit and starting to wake those muscles back up, that is a hard part. But, just a couple of months into the study, and I contracted COVID and missed 2 weeks. And so that's where I have to say Nick was excellent as I came back to read me and know that it's just I moved slower, but I did get through everything and was very patient and extremely encouraging. But overall, that was the difficult part.
That's excellent. All right. Well, those were all of my interrogation questions. So if you get you three have any last thoughts before we open it up for questions, feel free to hop in there.
I think when we do the 1 hour ends, that's the biggest, because we go through, the client just started, they got all the stuff, and then we go out on the machines and we're maxing them out. And like, it's a good way for them to start being with the trainer and with Julie, and we kind of form like a little thing and we push ourselves. It's really good. It's been very great having Julie help out. She makes us feel prepared. So when the client comes, we just can do our thing. It's been really well.
And I just want to mention that I think women in particular have loved the weight training. They they get so excited you're going to be really impressed when we retest. Because Vienna's getting ready to retest here.
2 weeks.
Yep, 2 weeks. And it is impressive. The people don't, I think, expect the improvement that they see. They try their hardest at week 1. They, do the best they can. But then 6 months later, when they redo those tests, they'll go up,
Wait. Don't say too much. Don't say too much. They'll go up.
They'll do well.
They'll do well. Yeah. Sorry, I'm blinded, so I'm not supposed to know any outcomes. That's great. That's great to hear that people are feeling positive.
It builds a lot of confidence.
Great. Okay, there are a couple questions in the chat. So Patty asked, if one lives in a rural area with no nearby Y, can someone take part in COMET? It depends on the site. We recognize that these kind of studies are a barrier for where there's so much concentrated in a big city metropolitan area. So we've been trying to expand that, and right now we have two YMCA's or two exercise areas that we can expand to, one in Atchison and one in Emporia. We're about to start Emporia. Now we recognize that doesn't cover everybody, but as you heard from Nick and Vienna and Julie, we really take very seriously the importance of maintaining some safety and control in these studies. So we can't just, and there are federal rules too, we can't just let any place be part of this program. It's one of the reasons we appreciate the Y so much, because they have really been an active partner for over a decade with us in doing these exercise studies very safe and effectively. And so the Atchison Y and Emporia Fitness is about to come on. And so we will continue to look for additional areas that we can reach that are not in the Kansas City, directly in Kansas City, but we can't just have people exercising everywhere, so that we can maintain safety. But thanks for your question. Nancy asks, are exercises done in a group or on your own? I think for the most part, hopefully people are doing them a little bit on their own. It's okay if you form a little bit of a group, but they're not necessarily, full group exercises like you might expect an exercise class or something like that with 30 people or something. And then how often do you meet with your trainer? That varies a little bit over time. Julie, do you want to field that?
Yeah, the first 6 months, they meet with their trainer 3 times a week. From months 6 through 9, or 7 through 9, it's twice a week. And then the last 3 months, they go down to once a week.
So we really make sure that you're doing things safely for the first half, and that someone like Nick is always there to answer your questions or help you adjust the exercise a little bit if something's not feeling quite right, things like that. But then we're also hopeful that you can start to become more and more independent in a safe manner. So we kind of titrate down those interactions. What other questions are there about these exercise studies in general, or for Vienna or Nick or Julie? I got to ask all my questions. Anybody else have any questions? I will say, oh, Bob.
Bob, we just need you to unmute. Bob, right now, if you're trying to speak, we've got you muted. If you could unmute, there should be a button at the bottom left side of your screen. It looks like a little microphone, and you can select that and unmute, or you can put your question in the chat. All right, well, Bob's working that out. It looks like Nancy has another question for you, Eric. How are you placed in a group such as endurance versus resistance?
It is basically like flipping a coin. It is purely random, except we do allow a few instances where people who live together, maybe your spouse, can enroll together. And so if that's the way you're going to do it, if you're enrolling with someone else who lives with you, then we randomize you together. So it's you sort of aren't quite as perfectly random. You will get the same thing as your partner. So, but for all intents and purposes, it is truly random. We flip a coin. Congratulations, Shirley. Thank you so much for chiming in and being part of COMET. We really appreciate it. Bob, are you available to ask your question yet? If not, Richard, can you participate in this study while being a partner in another study? It depends a little bit. So I didn't mention this, but we actually have over 40 studies ongoing right now at the Alzheimer's Disease Research Center. And so the chances are you've heard about one or more of those, and maybe you know someone in it, maybe someone you live with or love is in it. And sometimes you can be. So you just have to talk to the first to the study coordinator, the study team of the person who's in the study that you're a partner for, and then let us know about that so we can kind of coordinate that. Make sure that, because one of the things we need to be careful of is sometimes we do some of the same memory and thinking tests as another study, and we don't, the more you do those, the more you get better at those. And so that's kind of a learning effect that's outside of the intervention, like exercise. So we want to try and minimize that when possible. But thanks for your question. And yes, so it's possible in some cases to be in another study. What kinds of testing is done in the beginning and the end of the study? So we do about 2 hours worth of memory and thinking tests, pencil and paper, and tests like that. And then we also take a picture of your brain using an MRI. And then we put you on a treadmill and make you walk until you cry uncle, so to speak. We try and really test how good your heart and lungs are functioning. That's very safe, but we want you to go as hard as you can on that test. And then we also take a little bit of blood. We think that there are factors and chemicals in the blood when you exercise that are really good for the brain. And as you're exercising, you kind of bathe your brain in those chemicals. So we want to measure those a little bit. So those are the primary things we do at the beginning and the end of the study. Bob, were you able to unmute? I don't think so. I'm sorry, Bob. I'm sorry we couldn't get to your question, but looks like we're just about out of time. So I wanted to thank Vienna especially for being our participant in our study and also coming on to tell your story. And Nick, thank you. It was good to meet you. And I'll answer Amy's question in a second. And then Julie, as always, we really appreciate everything you do for helping us, everybody be safe and do their exercise in such a great way. Amy, in this particular study, we start at 65. We do have other studies that start a little bit earlier. Oftentimes those are for people who are starting to have memory and thinking changes. However, there is a lot of interest in a cohort in getting more people who are age 50 to 65 in some studies. So that will be starting. Oh, Bob.
Yeah, I was going to ask the age that you need, if it's 65 to 75 or whatever. Thank you.
Yep, 65 to 80 for COMET, and that just differs in with various studies. So I'm glad you got to ask your question. Misa,
Thank you.
Not any YMCA facility is qualified, but right now, any YMCA that's affiliated with the Kansas City YMCA system can be part of this. We just have to make sure there's a trained, qualified trainer like Nick at that YMCA who can go to that YMCA. So all of the YMCAs in Kansas City are all part of one, which is awesome. That helps us do our job really, really well. That's not always the case in every city. Sometimes there are multiple different YMCA networks in a city. That makes our job a lot harder. But in this city, we have a wonderful YMCA network, and if we can get coverage there, we can usually do the exercise there in the Y here in Kansas City. Actually, the Atchison Y is part of our Kansas City network. That's part of why we started there. And we don't have to only use the Y. We do have a couple of cases, for example, in Emporia, where we're going to partner with a external group outside the YMCA. But for the most part, we love sticking with the Y. They are just fabulous. So I think we've hit our time. I want to thank you all for coming and listening. I've been really enjoyed these community conversations and hearing more from people who are actually doing the studies rather than just having boring scientists like me talk. So thank you all. Thank you, Vienna, Nick, and Julie, and have a great rest of the week and stay cool, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
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 Thanks, Eric. We really appreciate your time today, and I would never consider you boring. So thanks again for the presentation. As a reminder, we will have a weekly webinar again next Thursday at 2 o'clock. More information about this presentation can be found on our website under events, or you can look out for that information on your My Alliance Monday email, or go to our website at kualzheimers.org. This presentation is recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel shortly, which you can find by navigating our website under the weekly webinars or by using the link in the